Hey everybody, it's Chris over at Dixieland Farm, and today we're going to be flying the Carenado Saab S340B. I love turboprop planes. I tend to fly mostly twin prop planes, so I did my VATSIM P4 training in the Dash 8, which is a great plane. So this is just like a kind of a smaller version of it, and it's made by Saab. So the reason why I got this plane is twofold. I was flying the Swearingen Fairchild Metro 3 plane, which is a small turboprop plane, 20 passengers, and love that plane. Freeware plane, totally free, love it. And then this one is sort of in between that plane and the Dash 8, and also Fairchild was involved with this plane. So Saab and Fairchild were in a partnership, and Saab, like the car manufacturer, the Swedish car manufacturer, were in conjunction with each other. Saab made most of the plane, Fairchild made just some of the plane, and then Fairchild basically closed shop. So this became just the Saab. So the Saab did mostly military planes, and this plane was extremely popular in the 80s and 90s because of fuel costs. This plane roughly goes to half the fuel that a jet would, but people hate prop planes. Totally get it. They're a little bit slower. Not much, but they're a little bit slower. When you're doing these small regional hops, they're not drastically slower because it takes so long to get up, get into where you're going, and then come back down that, an extra 15 minutes is not really that big of a deal, right? But on a longer flight, that's when it starts coming out that it's quite a bit slower. And the noise, they're so noisy and so uncomfortable for the passengers. So they have this plane, I think, also has some noise canceling properties, just like the Dash 8Q, Q for quiet, does. Where it's got little microphones and they kind of play sort of like head canceling, but just in the entire cabin. But I digress. Love this plane. And the second reason I bought this plane was it was on sale for $20. So it's normally $40 and on sale for $20 during the July 4th sale. We are in X-Plane 11. Probably by the time this video comes out, X-Plane 12 will already be out. So I might be with X-Plane 11 for a long time. I'm not sure. It all depends if my system can handle the new version. Otherwise, it's a computer upgrade and all of what that entails. I've got simple ground services here. We've got the bus and we've got the luggage. Can't have a loader because it's so low rather, to have the people walk on, but that's okay. And we got the fuel truck there, and we are going to take a look at our flight plan. So it looks like if we take a look at the flight plan here, we are leaving with 2,772 pounds of fuel, and we are going off of runway 33. We're doing the Leonard 3 departure to Gipple and then direct to Jacksonville and runway 26. So what other information do we have? We have 33 passengers. So I said this was in between the Metro and the Dash 8. The Metro can hold 19 passengers because it's one less than what you would need a flight attendant for. This plane holds about 35 passengers, and the Dash 8 holds up to about 80 passengers. So, yeah. And we've got a grand weight. We're roughly taking off with 28,914 pounds. So I'm going to plug all that information into the simulator, and then we can do a quick little tour around, and you'll see why I love this Carenado plane. So as we come up the stairs, we've got the control panel here for the lighting, and the lighting is spectacular. You can also hear that it's got some ambient noises when you're in the cabin, which is pretty cool. And the luggage doors do not open up, but the lights underneath do illuminate. If we turn on the battery, maybe. There we go. So we do a call for the flight attendant, and there's the cockpit there. Let's take a look upstairs and let's get some things going. So let's turn the power on. Hear that sound? That is the hydraulic pumps pumping up the pressure for the brakes and all the hydraulic system. So this plane has a nasty habit of rolling. So once you get external power on, you'll hear that pump kick on. So we're going to turn on the avionics. You hear the fans kick on here, and we're going to also do our wing and logo lights, get them going. And we are going to get our ignitions set up here. So that plus the guards. So we've got that on normal now. Emergency lights are on. All this can remain off for the moment, and we can do a few tests here. We could do a fire test, so we can see that's working. Upper lamps, they all illuminate, and the lower lamps, they also all illuminate. Some of these things are not modeled, so going through the entire checks is just not necessary. I'll put the temp to auto, but right now we don't have any air conditioning, just having the door open. We will close the cockpit door, though. That'll quiet it down. There we go. So the cockpit door is now closed, and let's get into the pilot seat, get rid of that yoke, and bring up the FMS. So some people do not like this plane because it uses the stock FMS, but I am used to the stock FMS, and it would normally have the UNS-1 FMS, which got modeled into the Dash 8, but that increases price, the modeling of an FMS. There is another version of the Saab, the LES Saab, which has been around for a long time, which I did not buy because it's, one, more expensive, two, it's a little clunkier, chunkier in modeling visually, but its systems are more in-depth than this plane, that's definitely for sure. But also, it's not available on the X-Plane store. You have to go through a third party, and that third party has a reputation. Also, that plane was not compatible with Linux, and I am running Linux. So those all factored into the decision here. So as I said, we're taking off on the Leggard 3 departure. If we look at that departure, basically we're going to be taking off from runway, what did it say? Runway 33. So from 33, we climb on heading 334 to 560 feet, then a left turn, direct Halley, and then on the depicted route. So, yeah, we're going this way, then turning around to Halley, and then going to Leggard, and then on our merry way. So top altitude, 4,000 feet, so we'll dial that in as well. And any other restrictions? None. A lot of these restrictions are for turbojet only, not for turboprops, but that is not the case here. And this is an RNAV departure, which is fine because our plane is RNAV. So if we go into our flight plan, one of the nice things about the stock FMS is if you click that, then you can just literally type in there. So we're KCHS, and we're going to KJAX, Jacksonville, and we are Eagle Flight 52. We put that in there, and we're going to the departures. We're taking off on runway 33 on Leggard 3, and we're transferring at Gipple. That is correct, and that's basically it. And then we can execute that. And arrival, we do know that we are, well, we don't actually know what we're doing yet, so we'll just leave that as is. Let's take a look at the flight plan then. So direct to Leggard, yeah, and then Leggard to Gipple. So all of that is in there and correct. So we are departing on climb heading 334. We can dial that in as well. One thing I wish this had was a readout digitally of the heading, because it's a little hard to see. But so there's 330. 1, 2, 3, 4. Of course, we could have went to 5 there and go back one. There we go. Set up on GPS. That's good. And we can go ahead and get the weather here at Charleston. 3012 is the altimeter, so 312. We've got that programmed in. 0 knots, so no wind. Perfect. Anything else we need to do, we can dial in what our V1 rotate V2 speeds are. If you don't know what I'm talking about, so I've got a very detailed card here. So V1 is the speed that we cannot fly underneath if we only had one engine. And after we've reached V1, we are committed, we're going. And the rotate speed is the speed that we actually start taking off. And V2 is the best climb single engine. So if we had lost one of our engines, that's the speed we want to maintain to climb the best. Some turbo prop planes will struggle to climb with one engine. Some, like the Dash, don't care. It'll just keep going. I think the Saab is one of those planes where it just doesn't care. It'll just keep going because they've got two big, powerful engines on here. Matter of fact, we're going to set the CTOT, the calculated takeoff temperature, I think is what it stands for. So that way, when we push the throttles forward, we can actually just limit how much engine power is going to be there for takeoff. So that way we don't have to look when we're trying to do everything else. Because you could put this thing above 100% and you can blow up the engines very easily in this plane. So I'm going to look up the numbers here and then put that in the plane. So it looks like the V1 and rotate speeds are 113 and 114. So instead of cluttering this up, we'll put that right about there. And flap retraction speed, the speed where we can safely remove the flaps, is 140. We'll do that. And then we'll just leave those bugs as is. So we're basically, once we get up to the first marker here, this one here, by the way, yeah, we're V1 rotate. All right, we can dismiss the fuel and the bus. Let's go outside. And we can also remove the static elements, the cones and the chocks on the wheels and that kind of stuff. So, and we can close that baggage door as well. So the only thing we right now have is the GPU. So this plane is, while you could technically start it on the batteries, it's just not a good idea, and it's just not standard practice. So you have this GPU. This is a little tiny generator that's actually providing power. Sometimes they're not a generator at all. Sometimes they're just like a plug if we were at the gates. But turboprops tend not to be parked at gates if avoided because of the noise. But we can go ahead and get everything else going here. So let's get our beacon light on. So that's the rotating light on the top there. That tells the ground crew that we are about ready to take off. And we're going to put this condition lever right there on start. And we're going to do engine 1 first because I don't want the big rotating blade by the ground crew. So we'll do engine 1 first. So we'll turn off the avionics, just the essential avionics. And essential avionics are basically just the radios. And you'll actually hear everything kick down. It turns off when we get that engine going. So a couple of seconds here, and the engine procedure just takes care of itself. You don't add fuel to this plane. You just put it in the start position, and it starts going. So plane stabilized there. You can see the engines coming down, so we don't have a hot start. What that means is too much fuel, and you would see the temperature raise, and you'd have to kill the fuel if it went out of the green arc there. So we heard everything kick back on, so that means everything's good. We're going to hit the generator reset there, and now the power is being, and that click, that power is being provided now by the airplane, so we can go ahead and turn off the external power. We are using the plane power. We'll tell the ground crew, get rid of the GPU, we're good, and they are doing that. We can also turn on the no seatbelts and the cockpit sterile. Cockpit sterile light is not modeled as far as I can tell, so instead of saying no smoking, because of course there'd be no smoking, it's a little light outside that tells the flight attendant, hey, we're busy doing stuff, probably shouldn't bother us if you don't have to. So that's all that light does. And seatbelts, of course, are seatbelts, right? So let's go ahead, put the condition lever into start for engine 2, and we are now clicking engine 2. And we're watching that engine start as well. Let's take a look outside. We're good. Go upstairs, reset the generator. Let's get our bleed valves on and recirculating fans on so the air conditioning starts going. Give these people some cool air. Let's make sure this is in auto, the HP valves. We want our windshield heaters on, so that way no ice forms on the windshield, and we turn on our pitot heat. That's going to heat up a little tube outside so that way we can get accurate air temperature, and that way ice doesn't form on it. Other than that, we don't need any other ice protection. It's a warm day here in South Carolina, and I don't think we are traveling too high here. I'm going to look at my flight plan. We're going to 4,000 feet to start off, and we need to go upstairs and turn on our avionics. And also in the FMS, we're going to put on a cruise here, 20,000. Looking at the info here, you can see that we are filed. We're sitting here in Charleston and going to Jacksonville. So down to Savannah, down to Jacksonville. A little bit of weather right there in Jacksonville, but that will probably pass, or we'll be right past it by the time we land. This flight should take roughly 40 minutes in the air, so let's get going. And before I do anything else here, let's make sure we put the squawk code in of 2200. What that does is tells controllers that I've not talked to an actual controller if somebody did come online. But now we're squawking 2200, and we're going to put our props full forward, so you hear them kick on here in a second. And we're going to put our seat out at 90%, so that way the engines will only get up to 90%. And a little overcast and a little hazy. What was that weather again? Few at 5,000 and then scattered at 1,000 and broken at 2,500. So, and we'll hit a few at 5,000 and then a little bit more at 10,000. And as we cross over, it should be okay. Pulling the map up, we're going to runway 33, so quite a bit around. So we are mistakenly, they put us at the military base, but that's okay. Nobody's here. So we'll cross here at hotel, really. So let's go ahead and just get going. Get our taxi lights on, get our nav lights on. One thing about this this baby is that it is a little tough to control on the ground. It wants to fly, so you're using your feather and the beta power quite a bit, so you're basically flattening the blades out so they don't do anything. So in today's flight we'll be using the brand new honeycomb yoke from my setup. Love this yoke. It's made a world of difference in my landings, which is exactly why I bought it. Very happy with the purchase. I was trying to DIY my own yoke, but it was just not going to work out great. Alright, so that's the one I want. So as we come around here, alright, that's hotel. And I'll make my call now. Charleston traffic, this is Eagle Flight 52, taxiing to runway 33 via hotel, crossing runway 21, Charleston. Forgot what plane I was for a second there. Yeah, Eagle Flights, or American Eagle. Normally I would fly Continental, but from what I understand, Continental did not fly this plane, but Eagle did. American Eagle is a subsidiary of American Airlines. It does small regional flights, and this is certainly a small regional flight. So I've got my strobe lights on and landing lights on to make sure I'm nice and bright for people. Nobody's here, like I said, so looking forward, we're fine. Putting those props into beta or reverse even is just incredible. Great sounds on this plane. So right here at the hold short line, we're going to hold short for a second, and we're going to remove the gust lock, which is always a thing you got to remember to do in these planes. That's to make sure that you don't put the throttles full forward and just go crashing. We can also lower the flaps. We're going to take off flaps 15. We have no other warnings here. Oh, that's flaps 25. Let's go up one. look at the airport diagram real quick here. Yeah, plenty of runway, 9,000 feet. I believe there is a like a takeoff inhibit button, but I don't know what that quite does, or if it's modeled, to be fair. So anything else upstairs that we need to do here, we need to turn on auto Carson. What that does is if the engine loses power, it'll automatically feather that engine so we can continue flying. Otherwise, it acts like a big air brake and crashes us into the ground. Certainly don't want to do that. Everything else up here can stay as is. When it's on auto, it just takes care of everything. So our landing altitude is roughly sea level, so we're going to set that up there. And we've got our barometer set pretty accurately there, right? 3012, so we can kind of, yeah, right about there. And that'll take care of the pressurization for us. And also, always forget, because it's a quirky thing, pull that for oxygen, so that way we actually get oxygen. And yeah, we need that, right? Great. We can turn on our strobes and landing light. We are ready to proceed. All right, our pitch is set. We can bring down the pitch trim a little bit, and we can also make sure our controls are free and correct and clear. They are, so yeah, we know we're good. All right, so we're going to continue. Charleston traffic, this is Eagle Flight 52 taking runway 33 for the Leggard 3 departure. Charleston. So, climb on heading 334 to 560, then left turn direct hailing. Okay, so we're just going to keep that up there. Kind of a reminder. All right, we let our cabin crew know that what we're doing. All right, so we're going to do, why is that caution? It's from before. We're going to yoke down. We're going to increase power, and at 80, we will release that pressure. So there we go. Airspeed is alive. Oh, that's my fault. 80, let go of the pressure. And V1 and rotate, so up we go. On the autopilot, we want to go heading. And we want to go climb speed, 140. That yaw damper on. Alright, so here's 1,000. Autopilot is on. It's now tracking our heading. You remember, it wants the left turn to Haley. So as we take off here, we can go ahead and remove our flaps. Heading. Left turn, direct Haley, execute. So that's 241. So as we turn around here, now we can put it into nav mode, which we've just done. And now it's actually going to just go ahead and put us right on track to Haley. Charleston traffic, Eagle Flight 52 is departed to the south west. Final call, Charleston. So, 1,000 to go. And what we're going to do is we're going to stay here at 4,000 until we get to Leggard, and then from Leggard on we will continue. So we can go upstairs and turn off the autocarson. That's fine. We have our flaps up. We can turn off the sea tote now. We don't need that. And what other things can we do? We can just basically slow our power just slightly here. I don't want to travel up too fast because we're going to go roughly about 160 on our climb in a few seconds. So 5 miles to Halley and then 17 to Leggard. So we're going 180 knots now. That's fine. We're just going to hold that. So from this point on, we can put on half bank, so that way it's not doing such drastic turns in the plane, make it a little more comfortable for the passengers. And of course we have orthographic scenery here, so we've got satellite imagery and all the different trees and different little tweaks that I've done, so quite beautiful out there, isn't it? It's one reason why maybe I don't need to rush into X-Plane 12. But then again, they could have optimized the code, so I don't have to really worry about those things. All right, so they would have said 10 minutes after departure, expect flight level 200, 20,000. So we can go ahead and probably increase our to that flight level right now. So up to 220, and up here on the autopilot panel, probably climb. At 180, I'm going to increase the power. So right now I'm just looking over the engine, making sure everything's good there. Everything seems to be fine. Prop speed's fine for now. It's going to be a little noisy, and torque at 85 for a climb. I think that's fine. And we've got our gear up, right? Our flaps are up, so that's all looking good. I thought I set the timer. So there we go, timer. We'll just add 5 minutes to. I'm pretty bad at that, of doing the timer of takeoff. So here we go into the clouds. And the temperature right now is 14 degrees outside, so not a big deal. Yeah, we're starting to break out of the clouds right now. That's one thing that's unrealistic, definitely about X-Plane 11, is the clouds. So the clouds look pretty, but there should be clouds underneath me, and there aren't. There's usually just one layer at a time. So when you break through, then you can kind of see everything. Well, that's not really realistic, right? So, but the new version of X-Plane should have that fixed, where it'll actually there'll be 3D volumetric clouds, so they will be actual things that you fly through and around, opposed to what this is. Still looks pretty impressive. So if you look at the progress here, 70 miles will be our descent. So I'm still just climbing at a leisurely 1,500 feet a minute, so it's going to take us a little bit of time to get up to 20,000. So probably right about the time we get to 20,000, we're going to come right back down. Got to figure out where we're going, and that's runway 26, I believe. So we can do the ILS for 26, pull that up, or we can do the RNAV for 26. I've been doing a lot of RNAVs in this plane. I'm not sure which is better, to be honest, but let's see. So for this, the approach would have been Tickery here, and then coming in. Yeah, Tickery, and it's a radar approach, right? So you're supposed to be vectored to that point. So since nobody's online, it looks like we more have to do a RNAV approach. So right here, the instrument, the initial approach fix of Zickel would be on the way. and then we can come in at here, Yajiao, whatever, and then inbound for runway 26. So this is the one we're going to take, RNAV Zulu. So let's program that into the plane. So pull up our FMS here, and Jacksonville, we're doing the RNAV Zulu for runway 26, and Zickel, execute. Take a look at the legs here. So we've got discontinuity, and then that's when Zickel would take over. So no controller is online right now. If you get rid of this discontinuity now, so that way we just go from Gipple to Zickel, and somebody comes online, it becomes actually pretty tricky to undo. So we're going to leave that discontinuity in just for a little bit longer. As we get closer, we'll remove it, because if a controller came online and said that's not what you're going to be using, you will be flying vectors, you'll be doing the ILS, you're doing visual, then to change any of this is kind of difficult. So, you know, I've done this flight quite a number of times, and I just love it. I love the coastline. I love the ortho scenery that I've got here, and how cool it just looks. We got some water reflections there. That's pretty awesome. The new version of X-Plane actually will have the water lapping and up to the coastline, which is really cool, and should work with all this ortho scenery that I built, which is pretty sweet. Anything else we can do at the moment? Oh, we can turn off the no seatbelts and landing lights. As I was talking to you, I missed those calls. Just imagine there are people there, because, you know, I can't actually put people there. Again, look at the modeling in here. It's really neat with all the little folds in the fabric. That's pretty cool. The flight attendant would be right here on this jump seat. This would just fold down, and that's where they would end up being. So they might give water. That's about it. I mean, there's not much to offer in this plane. Back into the cockpit, 16.6 for 20,000. We're almost coming up on where we need to put in standard pressure. Standard pressure is 2992. So after we cross over 18,000 feet, everyone just goes to 2992 instead of having to update the altimeter constantly. We all just agree we're going to use this number wherever we actually are. It doesn't matter. This is the number we're all agreeing on, 2992. Other thing I can do is load up the map for Jacksonville, KJAX, so I've got that. Landing 26, so we're going to be making a left turn. Got that figured out. I'll pull up the information for Jacksonville right now. So no wind, 3009, and there's only some clouds at 20,000 feet where we are. So, all right, great. Zixel, and we want to be right at 2,000 feet for Yajiao, and then down to 1,600 feet, and that's where we pick up our final approach fix, and that's when the plane starts guiding us down. So 2,000 is what we're going to program in for our altitude restriction there in the plane. So let's go ahead and just do that just in case. So 27, 2,000. Yeah, so we got it. So we're good. 52 miles, and again, we're still climbing here. So it's going to take a little bit of time. And with turboprops, you have to keep up with the power. So I just increased the power because we were losing torque. So as we gain altitude, the air becomes lighter, and you have to give more engine power. So I've just done that, and 2,000 feet to go, and then that's when we'll start really speeding up. So you can see the ground speed, we're going 238 knots right now. So not the fastest, but we're also on a climb, and that should increase to about 270, 280 once we're out of the climb, which should be in about 2 minutes. Looking upstairs, the air conditioning is going 20, so we're doing good with the air. We've got 1,000 feet to go. That's what that alarm was. Anything else up here that we need to deal with? No, we're pretty good. Pressurization. You can see we're pressurized, so we're doing fine there. Alright, so we're at 20,000 feet, and we are now going to come over here and finally give the people a break with the engine noise. We're going to drop those RPMs just slightly to 1260 there, and we're going to bring the torque to probably 75% there. So we will increase engine so we will increase speed there. And now we're at 270 knots, pretty much what I said we would be, and that RPM just slightly lower, less of a drone. Prop sync is now on. Forgot to do that because what that'll do is, thing about turboprop planes is if the props are slightly out of sync, they make a little whoa, 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 whoa. Very cool, but it actually happens and you don't even realize it, and it can make people sick, like physically sick. So that's why you would put prop sync on, to make sure it doesn't whoa, 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 whoa. Now I didn't hear that, but it can be subtle. It doesn't matter. Turboprops, you should always turn on the prop sync anyway. So we've done that. It's going to be boring here for the next 20 minutes, though we're coming up close to our top of descent. We've already got everything programmed in. We know what the weather is. We know what we're doing. So it's just time to sit back and kind of enjoy the flight just a little bit, take a breather, and that's the enjoyable thing about doing these flights. So it's right now 8 o'clock in the morning here. Marissa's doing a lesson. Her trainer came to our farm, so she's doing stuff, and I can just kind of veg out here, still learning, practicing, doing all these things. But a nice trip down to Florida in the morning. Wonderful. Now, so some people will not fly unless there's a controller on. I flew with a controller yesterday. I left from Charlotte to Charleston, had a controller on for half the flight. But for me, it's really just enjoying flying. I love when controllers are on, don't get me wrong, but I also love when there's nobody on also. So I'm still on network, but it's sometimes nice to just do your own thing as well. So I'm good either way. So let's meet you at top of descent. If you remember, I've got a discontinuity that I've got to take care of, so we're going to stitch that up right now to Zixel, and we're going to look at progress here. It says in 5 miles. I usually do it just a little bit earlier than 5 miles. So we're going to bring this down all the way down to 2,000 feet. And the reason is what I like to do, especially when doing on RNAVs, is I will control my vertical speed here, and I'll just bring it down to 0. So right now we're going to come down at roughly 1,200 feet a minute, and you can see our ground speed is 280, and I'm going to pull back on the throttle slightly, so that way we can just keep up the speed and not increase on our way down. We already had the weather, but we're going to check it again anyway. 3009. So as we cross through 18,000 feet, we're going to have to put in the local altimeter. Now it's 3011, so we will slowly start bringing that in. And what else can we do? Keeping the speed, not overspeeding. We can probably, bring that power back just slightly again. We want to keep it right there at 210 indicated. So that barber pole is where you're overspeeding. So right where the speed bug is, I want to keep that thing there. Probably should have the triangle. That's what it really is. That's what that's really meant for. So I'm still pulling power here to get that speed under control, because we're going about 300 knots now. Looking at my speed card, we're going to be coming down somewhere around 118 knots is our VREF speed, the speed we want to land at. And we'll keep everything else here the same. Yep, and then it looks like we are turning slightly for the next waypoint. So it says at Zixel max speed is 210. So that's 210 indicated on your your airspeed indicator, and you see we're not even at that. But we'll try to bring it down to a more realistic amount on true airspeed down here, where it says 265. We'll try to really get it close to 210, and not what it's actually indicated on our airspeed indicator. But that's in 45 miles, so we got some time with that. One of the things about the Carenado plane is they've got this control thing on the left-hand side. So A is for autopilot, so it's a little hard to see here. So they've given you a nice convenient, you hit A, and then it's got the autopilot controls and all the different controls here that you would need to touch and handle. So that's pretty cool. And then C, so this is just a control panel where we can control our volume and our viewpoint and things like that. And we've also got, yeah, these things have been changed by me, so they no longer line up. And then the options here, that's basically when we land on the ground, you know, where we handle the baggage doors and passenger doors and the GPU and all of that. So nice and simple. And the other thing is, if you just hover over it and mouse down, you can actually make it a little darker or lighter, so that you can make it disappear if you wanted. I tend to just leave it. On the ADI indicator here, the FS, so it's fast and slow, so your speed bug, you've got like a control here. So if we change that down to 200, you can see the speed changes to whether we're fast or slow, and that's basically the speed I want it to come down at anyway. I don't really tend to use it, but it is just another tool for the pilot. And you can see it also, it's got the indicator vertical speed there, negative 1200 as we come down. And we're also got the autopilot on, the yaw damper on, and the GPS. So once again, I forgot to put in our flight number here in the flight recorder. This is the only plane that I have that actually you can actually indicate that. So there we go, flight 52. Yeah, Jacksonville approach is on. So 12700. He wants me to talk to him, so I will talk to him. So 122. Jacksonville approach, Eagle Flight 52 at 10-5 for 2000.
Eagle Flight 52, Jacksonville approach, good morning, squawk 2644, please.
2644 for Jacksonville, for Eagle Flight 52. 2644. 2644.
Eagle Flight 52, radar contact 96. Descend and maintain 2000. And you can expect vectors for the visual runway 8. Fly heading 230 for now.
Fly heading 230 down to 2000 for Eagle Flight 52. So he wants heading 234. So plans completely changed. We put it into heading mode. And the plane will start going to 234. And he said runway 8. So not the runway I was expecting, which is totally fine. But we do have to now start adapting. So what can we do? Well, we come here and we can do change this long arrival. We're going to change this to the ILS 08 and transfer at Craig. Nah, we'll just leave that as is. And let's take a look at the legs. So we're just going to stitch this up to Libby. No. First execute, then direct Libby. So now he's vectoring us off. We're just following his information, and I put in Libby here just so that way we can see. And if we go on the VOR low, so that way there's Libby, and that brings us in. And I pulled up the ILS for runway 8 just to make it easy on myself. So here's the plate for ILS. So that's not what we're flying, but that's what we're basically doing. And he's bringing us in here so that way we can pick up Libby and come on in. And the localizer is 110.7. We can program that into our plane as well. So what that'll do is that'll just help me guide me down. Even though it's a visual approach, it'll just be easier on me if I have a reference. So 110.7. He hasn't shown up here on the map yet, but that's the fun of doing these online flights. You never know. So. And we haven't gone. Yeah, we're pretty close here. 2, 3, 4. Oh, there we go. And got our landing lights on. Our ground speed is roughly 250, and that's the speed that we want to be at. And Jacksonville approach is now on the map here, so as we come into his airspace. Again, not a problem. I've done this enough where I can adjust, which is good. That's what you want to do, right? You want to be flexible because things change in real life all the time. Runways change, air changes. There's situations that happen. So we're gonna get our auto coursing on, and anything else we can do upstairs here? No, not really. We're pretty good. We can get our wings and logo light on and get our seatbelt signs on. We're a little bit late on that, but that's okay. It's because we were dealing with the changeover. And remember, there'd be a second pilot here helping along, first officer, but it's just me. So, yeah. All right, so down to 2,000 here and 25 miles to Libby. So it'll be coming on quick. We got the auto coursing on, and once we get closer, we'll have to turn off our prop sync and anything else we need to do, probably flaps and stuff like that. We are in Orbic's True Earth scenery now, so this is professional paid scenery that that we've got all of Florida. So that's why the color is a little bit different, and landmarks are much more realistic. So very neat product. So he'll call us and guide us in. Got 1,000 feet to go for 2,000. And the one thing that we're going to have to pay attention to is once we get to 2,000, we're going to have to increase engine power quite a bit, because we've been just coasting down. We probably want to go about 180 knots here once we get down to 2,000. So we're going to slow it up a bit. Once we get closer to that final approach fix, that's when we're going to also increase our RPM on our props and turn off our prop sync and flaps and gear, that whole kind of thing. So right now we're just hanging out here. It's funny, he actually jumped off. So I'm just going to, he probably disconnected and he's going to reconnect. And Jacksonville approach, Eagle Flight 52. All right, so we also have another situation here. He's disconnected, so he not really a problem. We're just going to follow this along because you see it's going to vector us to Libby and then to 77 at some point. So we'll just continue on with the ILS and visual approach as if he was still online. And he might come back online. That's the thing. You can see there's no more controller here, and yeah, we're coming in on runway 8, and it'll be a right turn instead of a left turn now, but that's not a problem. And so at Libby, we were supposed to be roughly at 2,000 feet, and like I said, he's kind of vectoring us off, so that's where he vectored us. You see the break here, and then we'll come back around to Jacksonville and land. So in 11 miles. So as I come around here, I'm going to hit nav now, take it off of heading mode. And what that's going to do is that's going to load up with the localizer. And I'm just going to guide myself in. So once again, this is kind of a proof that you really need to be able to adapt, right? So, all right, we're coming in. There's the airport in front of us. Prop sync is off. On the visual. I don't know why I'm fighting this, but we're just going to turn off the autopilot. Let's get our gear down. First notches of flaps. See, we're on the glide slope. Taxiing lights are on now. Another notch of flaps. So our decision height's 15. He's no longer online, so I'm going to switch over to Unicom. A little bit below the glide slope, that's alright. Jacksonville traffic, this is Eagle Flight 52 on a 3-mile final for runway 8. Full stop, Jacksonville. Alright, so still got it under control here. We're going to increase our power just slightly. So
glide slope, glide slope.
I'm aware of a glide
Glide
slope.
slope.
I was doing stuff. So, alright. There it comes back in our glide slope. So that I'm looking for right here on the side. You see that thing that's coming down? So that's telling me, that's guiding me in. So I wanted that to be right in the middle. Power's a little fast, so I am increasing my pitch. Gear down, 3 green, prop sync is off. On the glide slope, we are lined up. I'm doing just gentle corrections with the throttle, so just a little bit below. There we go. So a little off center line because I was paying attention to that.
Too low, flaps.
It's not
Too
true.
Low, flaps. Too low, flaps.
Don't listen
Too
to
low,
that. You can
flaps.
see we're coming in just
Too
fine.
low, flaps. Too 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 low, flaps.
So distracting.
Too low, flaps. Too low, flaps. Too low, flaps. Too low, flaps.
Well, that certainly wasn't true, and I've got to change my throttle because it went into beta just for a second there. But there's the reversers. So we missed that turn off, but that's all right. We can do braking here. Jacksonville approach back on. All right. So as we come across here, and brake. So he's come back online. That's fine. We're just gonna hit the control panel, the comm radio there. Jacksonville approach, Eagle Flight 52.
Yeah, Eagle Flight 52. Sorry that I had a complete system crash. I couldn't even talk to you.
Not a problem. We noticed it, and we just took care of it. We just came in on the ILS, so you had us lined up just fine anyway, so we knew what you were going to do.
Yeah, roger that. Again, my apologies. It's just I got a blue screen. I was like, well, that's no good.
You got it fixed and you're back online, so that's the important thing. So we're here at Golf off of runway 8.
All right, were you parking the terminal or straight in at GA?
Well, we're a turboprop, so I guess straight into GA and we'll get the bus people.
Okay, you could go straight in, golf, right shelter, left signature.
Fantastic. We'll take a right to Shelterra, Eagle Flight 52. All right, so let's get it all cleaned up. And strobe light is off, taxi light is on, landing light is off, and let's get our gust lock on. So what I told him is that because we are a turboprop plane, normally they would kind of park you away from everybody. So there's the gust lock back in, and he said straightforward. So not a problem. Straightforward. Turn off the auto Corson. Where are you? There you are. Thanks. And there's one other thing that I need to turn off. We can turn off that inhibit. All right, the flaps are up. Auto Corson's taken care of. How cool is that with Jacksonville in the background? You see the skyline. You remember at this point it just kept on saying glide slope and flaps and all that, but that's a perfect little landing. All right, so parking brake is set, and what can we do? We can go ahead and start killing engine 1, so that way the passengers can leave. Turn off the no seatbelt signs and the sterile cockpit. Turn off our taxi lights. Turn off our nav lights. So we've got all of that going. And upstairs we can go ahead and turn off our avionics. We'll leave the essential on in case he talks to us real quick. And some guy with power is going to come back on. So there's the external power. You can see the light turned on. And we get the external power on. And now that we've got engine 1 rather, slowly coming down, we can go ahead and kill engine 2 now that we've got the power going. So we'll get the bus and the loader coming out. Let's go ahead and get our passenger door open and ladder. Once the door comes down, then the ladder can open baggage door and also our cockpit door, right? So we can hear everybody. Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming out. I really appreciate it. Yeah. No, we handled the flight great. Thanks so much for flying, everybody. I really appreciate it. Oh, that's sweet. No. It was a good landing. Yeah. No. I know. And then outside here, you can see we got the baggage coming down. Guys taking care of it, and we got the bus here. People can get on the bus and be taken over to the terminal, which is back over that way. Anything else we can do while we're upstairs here? Yeah, we can turn off all our heats, of course, and our pitot heat, and we've got the auto Carson off. The emergency lights can come off, so that way they're not triggered now, and our circ fans can come off. The bleed valves off, HP valves off, generators off. Don't need our beacon light anymore, and wing and logo lights, they're off. So we're basically ready to shut off the airplane. So we will turn off avionics, and we'll turn off the external power, and our battery. So everything is now killed. There we go, nice and quiet as people leave. My goodness, I am so glad that you were able to see that flight, because we had to adapt, right? So one of the things I told you was don't stitch up your flight plan because they can change on you. I was well within the area where, okay, I need to start following my flight plan and the approach. And then approach controller came on, and he gave me something completely different. So what do? We just followed his instructions. He told us a heading, we followed that heading, and then I programmed in, it was a different runway, had to program that in. So I picked the ILS, so that way I'd have a radio signal to be able to guide me in case I hit a cloud or something like that, right? Even though it was a visual approach. Visual approach means I'm just using my eyes. I'm just flying like a normal small airplane, right? He had a complete computer crash. I saw that he went offline. I'm like, okay, well, I've luckily had the ILS programmed in, right? I didn't just leave everything the way it was. I programmed in the new runway and something to guide me in. So I saw that he was basically taking me and then turning me. So I put it into that. I had a little bit of confusion getting that figured out, but I got it figured out. And then for some reason, when I put it into nav mode, it wouldn't follow along. So what did I do? I just disconnected the autopilot. I flew it by hand and I manually guided back to that ILS signal, got it all lined up, came down, everything was under control, landed, and then right when I landed, he was able to come back online. I had to switch over, and then we had that conversation. So cool. What a cool flight. And again, I'm glad I got to record it and show you that things don't always go to plan and things do go wrong. They certainly go wrong in the simming world, and we were able to adapt and have a successful flight. So Saab 340, love this plane. It's in my favorites here. So one day I definitely will do one of my favorite planes in an X-plane. I only tend to fly the same 5 airplanes or 6 airplanes. So even though I've got 20, 25 different planes, I just tend to stick to these particular ones. And most of them are twin props. So they're my my love of flying. Dixieland Farm, everybody. Thanks for joining me. Take care.